Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Sunset Safari. And for those of you who don't know, my name is Jamie, and I have Jean-Dre on camera with me this afternoon, and on Wendy, heading out with a couple of radio problems that they're just trying to sort out, is Brent and Brian. Now, while they sort that out, we've been sitting with a nice bachelor group of rather healthy-looking impala. But my plan for this afternoon is actually to try and figure out exactly where Madiba disappeared to this morning. Now, if you weren't watching the sunrise safari, there were reports of Shadow and Sindile. Shadow had crossed south of our boundary into Hoffman's, and the Arethusa guides told me that Madiba had crossed somewhere into the property around Gowrie Main into Voyatella, which is where we are heading to now, just to see if maybe we can get an update on his position, what he's been up to over the last day or so. Now, as you can see, it is still quite cold and chilly here in the Sabi Sands. It's a little bit of cloud cover and still quite a bit of wind, but that is good news for us because it does mean that some of the predators who might have gone flat on a hotter day might decide to head around and see what's happening because they're not feeling too hot. It's also perfect hunting weather because the wind works well at distracting the prey animals from figuring out what's out there. Now, for those of you who are joining us for the first time, this is a live safari. So what you are seeing on your screens is happening right now on Nkuhuma and Arethusa game reserves within the Sabi Sands. And the exciting thing about a live safari is that you just never know what's going to be around the next corner. And on that note, let's hit the road and see what we can find. Now, if you are joining us for the first time, this is a live safari, but it's also an interactive one. So if you have any questions that you would like to send through, or any comments that you would like to make, you can do so on #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@wildearth.tv. And I'm going to see if we can sneak up a little bit closer to these impala, because there was a question that was fed through to me about 2 or so days ago on the Sunset Safari, which I thought was a really, really interesting one. So I went and did a little bit of research on it, and I want to share that information with you while we have a look at these wonderful antelope. I'm hoping that these impala are going to stick around and stay out in the open. Now, one of the wonderful things, apart from the questions that we get from our various viewers, is we also get some very interesting updates from them as well, especially those who regularly watch the dam cameras that are 24-hour live cameras set up both at Arethusa Waterhole as well as the Nkuhuma Dam camera. Now, Diane, welcome to the Sunset Safari. You mentioned that you heard lions roaring this afternoon on the Arethusa Dam camera. Now, I will be heading across in the direction of Arethusa, so I will be definitely asking some of the guides for updates from there. Apparently, the Majingi male lions, who I have yet to see, and I'm not sure have been seen on any of the live safaris, but apparently they were moving up still quite far away from Arethusa. But as I said, on a cool day like this, you never know who or what is going to be moving around. Now, we do get wonderful updates like that, but we also get some very interesting questions. And I cannot honestly off the top of my head remember who asked me this. But we had a great question from a viewer about how it is that antelope fetuses, now, when they're born, those babies have to be ready to keep up with their mothers straight away. It's a dangerous world out here. So they're born with fully developed hooves. And I know that many of the presenters, myself included, will have mentioned what formidable weapons these hooves can be. So even these impala, although the males have horns, They can also kick with surprising strength, and they've got very, very sharp ridges to the edges of their hooves. And the question was, how is it that the fetuses don't do any damage to the mother internally? And what I discovered this afternoon whilst I was doing a little bit of research, it kind of happened by chance. I was reading up on a Facebook post about the birth of a zebra, and I noticed it had a very, very soft coating around the edge of its foot. And I looked into it more, and apparently all of the hoofed mammals that are born in this area are born with something known as a deciduous hoof capsule. So essentially when the hoof starts to develop, it's very, very soft, and it slowly hardens and hardens as the fetus develops, but it retains that soft outer layer throughout the pregnancy and is born with that soft outer layer, but it rubs off incredibly quickly, so the hoof underneath is fully prepared and fully developed, ready for the life ahead of the young antelope that's now got to survive and run about on the plains. But it rubs away that very soft, almost gel-like coating. So to the viewer who asked that question, I apologize for not remembering who it was. We do get lots of questions sent through, but I do hope you're watching, or if any of the viewers who were watching before that, because that is some really, really interesting information, something that I didn't know, and one of the reasons why I love the interactivity side of these live safaris, because we do get questions that really make us think about the way the world that we are seeing is adapted to survival. Now, our impala that we were chatting about have disappeared off into the block, and I'm still out to find these tracks of this leopard. It's become a little bit of a personal mission of mine, because I cannot understand how I managed to miss the tracks this morning. I found Shadow's tracks perfectly going into Hoffman's property. Now what I want to do is just check and see if maybe she's been hanging around the corner of Gowrie Lane and Triple M, which is where we've very often found the two of them together. I mentioned that it is a little bit chilly this morning. It is in fact around 19 degrees centigrade, which is, I believe, 64 degrees Fahrenheit. So definitely still a chilly start, and I always find that September does this to me. It tricks me into believing that summer is here, and then almost immediately the cold snap comes back and my jumpers go back on. Those of you who were watching the morning safari, I'm just listening to some of the radio updates to try and get an idea as to what's going on with the various lions in this area. It's one of the reasons why I do want to follow up on that update about the lion roaring at the Arathusa Dam camera. Very curious to figure out who that might be. Gendre's eagle eyes have spotted a beautiful antelope, a little bit bigger than the ones we were looking at earlier. And another kudu enjoying her lunch. You can see how well those stripes camouflage her and help to break up her outline. Just the tiniest of details on the coat help to make the animal vanish into her background, which is exactly what I think she's going to do. Here you can see just the tips of her ears and the top of her back. It has been really, really quiet, even on the radio this morning and this afternoon. I know that a lot of the guides are trying to follow up on the situation with the lions. Now this morning, Scott and James found tracks for one young male and one sub-adult female moving around Impala Plains, and it looked like they crossed west back into Simbambili. I did check the northern boundary of Arathusa, didn't manage to find anything, but we do strongly suspect that that could well be Junior, as well as the Nkuhuma sub-adult lioness who was thought to be, presumed to be dead. She went missing a couple of days ago. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that it is them and that they are alive and well. And hopefully, at least for the sub-adult lioness, will hopefully be looking out for her pride and might be reunited with them soon. Last I heard, the Nkuhumas were on Buffelshoek yesterday, so not too far from here. I know that we're all very keen to see them back together again. Stopped suddenly. Oh, little one, it's okay. How's that for interesting? 3 different antelope species, probably within 500 meters of each other. Little female steenbok. Definitely one of my favorite antelopes to watch. And as I mentioned, it is a female. And for any of the viewers joining us for the first time, the best way to tell is just to look at the top of the heads and see if they have horns. That being said, there are recorded cases of female steenbok having horns, but it's a very, very rare situation. Now, somewhere around here, unless she is a solitary female, which is fairly unusual, she will have a mate that she will mate with for life. And although they don't spend their days together necessarily, he will be foraging maybe 100 or so meters from her most of the time in their tiny little territories. And they will spend the rest of their lives together, which is a wonderful little aspect of dwarf antelope life. Unlike some of the larger antelope, they do pair up for life, not necessarily always faithful to each other, but for the most part they will spend the entire time defending their territories from other steenbok. Tiny, tiny little territories, as you can imagine, with an antelope of that size. They don't need much in the way of space. Sorry, I stopped in mid-sentence just because there's actually a daker there as well, which I didn't expect to see. I'm going to roll forward a little bit so that maybe Jean-Andre can get it on camera. But it's quite a useful way of having a look at the difference between the two antelope that are so often confused. And I thought for a second I was still seeing that female steenbok, but you can see the daker is much more grey in color, with quite a flat back, where that steenbok's back is just that little bit sloping towards the rear end. I want to see if it just comes out. Just going to inch forward. Oh, hold on. It's stopped there. Nicely. Let's see if we can inch forward. There you can see it's digging away to get down to some of the roots and rhizomes of the grass, as well as bulbs and some of the seeds that will be germinating from the various trees after our first rains. And I just want to grab my binoculars so that I can have a look at whether or not it is a male or a female. Ooh, my eyepiece is a little bit dusty. Looks to me like a female. Also doesn't have horns, but it does have that mohawk tuft of hair. And munching away on whatever it managed to dig out. Slightly bigger than the steenbok we were looking at, but not by much. Nice and relaxed within our presence, which is always nice with some of the dwarf antelope. They tend to be very alert and quite skittish. They'll stay still for as long as they think that you haven't seen them, but as soon as they sense that you're watching them, they disappear off. And a really nice situation where we get to see two of the dwarf antelope in quite close proximity to each other. Here you go, you've got the steenbok and the duiker both on screen. The steenbok off to the left, and then the duiker's bottom just poking through the trees there on the right. And there you can see the considerable color difference that's quite well highlighted there. And amazing to think, because these two little antelope pretty much inhabit the same ecological niche. They feed on roughly the same things. They have territories in much the same kind of habitat. So this is probably quite an open patch for a steenbok or a duiker. They like to be quite cryptic and hidden away, as you can tell. But there you go. I know that we've had lots of viewers asking for the differences between the two of them. And that's quite a nice position we've got ourselves in. Unfortunately, both of them demonstrating the shy nature of all of the dwarf antelopes by hiding away behind cover. You can see exactly how thick those clouds are looking. Now, Diane has informed me, which is really, really fantastic news, and I must say a big thank you to Diane, that the Nkuhuma Pride were reported to be on Arathusa this morning. Now, that's not something I picked up, but, you know, we have been fairly busy, and I'll tell you a little bit about the afternoon that we spent or today, what we spent our time doing in between drives. But on that note, I am very much thinking of heading across to Arathusa, because I know that many of you are curious to see how they are doing, and personally I would love to know, or love to be able to see, if Junior and that sub-adult lioness have made their way back. So thank you for that, Diane. I think it might be a really good idea for us to head across there and see what is happening on that side of the world. looking at the skyline off to the west and just wondering if the rain is going to come towards us. I'm just going to go a little bit slower just to see let one of the vehicles go ahead of me. It's quite a large herd of impala actually that we've got here. This is probably one of the biggest ones that I've seen. Nice mixed breeding herd. There you can see impala of all ages and sexes. We've got the females, the young female there walking off the screen to the left, and then a young male standing at the back. And that young male is probably from last year's lambs. He's now just about reaching a year old, and quite phenomenal how fast they seem to grow. Really, definitely, probably one of the biggest impala herds that I've seen during my time here. Most of them are tucked away in the sort of thick of the block, but I think there are probably about maybe 30 to 40 individuals here. And it's interesting to see how, even though I came from working on an area that is far, far smaller, the dynamics of this ecosystem seem to sort of favor the fact that the impala herds here are much smaller than the ones I used to see. So really interesting observation. Let us continue on though, because there are some lions to find on Arethusa apparently. Out for where Madiba came across as reported by the Arethusa guides. Dying to figure it out, because between Scott, James and myself we walked most of this area this morning. He is proving to be quite the cryptic little leopard in his own right. To the southern boundary of Djuma and heading across to Arethusa, just wondering at which particular lions might have been the ones that were heard calling on the Arethusa Dam camera. It would be really interesting if it was the Nkuhumas, because from what I've heard, the Birmingham boys have gone all the way to the east, past sort of the east of Torchwood and towards the Kruger Park area, which might explain why the Nkuhuma pride feels, if it was them calling, why they feel comfortable enough to start making those sort of contact calls and roars. And it's entirely plausible but complete speculation. Oh, excuse me. Apparently I can't breathe and talk at the same time. It might be speculation, but it could well be that they were trying to get into contact with Junior and that young lioness. But at the moment there's quite a lot of upset in the lion world, and it's become very, very difficult to keep track of them. They're not necessarily moving in their usual areas or following the typical behavior that they might have been doing a couple of months before the Birmingham boys entered the scene. had that really cool sighting of a steenbok and a duiker within the same sort of frame, foraging in exactly the same area for exactly the same types of food. Although I imagine there might be some level of species differentiation in terms of what they eat. But Raisa has made the comment that it's quite impressive that you get two animals sharing exactly the same habitat, so they don't compete. And yes, Raisa, they don't fight or compete in any way for the territories that they have, and they will share territories, as we saw with those two, perfectly happily, even though they do fit into what is essentially the same ecological niche. So really fascinating part of the environment that we live in. I'm just going to switch on to the Arethusa game drive communications. I've got a nice example here that will help me answer a question in a moment. So I'm just going to pull over to the side and say a nice good afternoon to these buffalo who have joined us. Just stop here for a moment. Hello, big boy. And I can hear more of them thrashing away in the bushes off to my left, but we've got this nice dugger boy here, and whether they are, or at least we do know that we see very large herds of buffalo, and even the males will move about together for the most part, and in fact you'll see nice big herds of dugger boys as well as the breeding herds. Now Corinne wanted to know, because we saw those little duiker and that little steenbok foraging around on their own, and Corinne said they look so vulnerable when they're out on their own. Do the big cats, or do the cats target animals in herds more than they might the solitary little antelope? And that is actually a really complex question, and it's got several parts to it. So prey selection depends on the size of the cat as well as the number of the cats. So a big lion pride is going to target big animals like these buffalo, and so they work together as safety in numbers, whereas something like a leopard isn't going to be able to take on a herd like this, and they will tend to target those small secretive antelope like the ones that we saw before. So it is just a matter, it is a sort of two different approaches to the way that those antelope are preyed upon. The duiker and the steenbok lead fairly solitary lives, but they remain as cryptic and secretive as possible, just like the leopard that hunts them, whereas these buffalo choose to form safety in numbers, or choose to adopt a safety in numbers approach, just to try and keep themselves a little bit safer from attack by a big pride of lions. Now I think we may have stumbled into a breeding herd, but I want to just do a little bit of a loop around and see if that is the case, because most of them are very much hidden away in this block. And I also want to hop onto the Game Drive channel and see if we can get an update on what's been happening with the lions in Arethusa. So in the meantime, Brent's radio comms are back up and running, and I'm sure you're wondering what his plans are for this sunset safari. And for now, we're going to cross across to him, and I will catch up with you a little bit later.
Hello and welcome on the Sunset Safari, a very chilly Sunset Safari and not much sun to be had. Excuse me a second, as we're popping across, I was popping my jersey on. I was trying to be tough, it didn't last too long. So welcome onto the Wendy. My name is Brent Smith and I'm going to be one of your guides for the next while, and I've got Brian and the Thumb on camera with me today, but sometimes Brian and I are together known as the Killer Bees. Although our form has been lack a little bit at the moment, unfortunately we have not been able to find those lions, leopards and cheetahs. Hopefully that will change shortly. It helps when there are animals to find, and unfortunately, there's a spider web. Got it. Those leopard tracks we're following on the Sunrise Safari actually crossed out eventually to the south of us. So welcome, and if there aren't any big things to look at, we will keep you entertained with all the little things. So we're going to see what we can find. Hopefully you guys will find it riveting. If not, well, we don't have much other choice. So I know Jamie and Scott have gone down to the southern corner to try to see if they can find young Madiba. We're going to patrol up here, also in the sort of western sectors. The only place we didn't really go this morning. And when I said Jamie and Scott, Scott's out on tracking team giving Jamie a hand in that area. We're going to check through here. We have seen serval a couple of times. James has seen serval here, I've seen serval here, and Steph's seen serval here, so hopefully they start calming down a bit. We might be able to get a nice view of one on camera. A grey sky. I'm hoping this cold front will burn off before tomorrow, but I don't think so. I think it's around for another day or two. Fortunately, no rain in it yet, so it hasn't impeded on any of the safaris, apart from making it a bit tough for us to find animals from time to time. There are a couple of reasons. A lot of your sort of herbivores, your plant eaters, don't really like this cold windy weather, and they tend to hide away and try to stay out of the wind, whilst with this cool weather enables the predators to move throughout the day, and that makes them much more difficult for us to track. So if it's a really hot day, they're going to stop and rest somewhere, and we're able to generally find them, maybe possibly between the drives. But now with this cool weather, they can move throughout the day, and they are capable of moving some impressive distances. Oh, hello, wildly beast. It's an heartbeat. Spikethorn bush, and you should pop out into the open shortly. And some male blue wildebeest. Red spikethorn. There's a little bird towards the back hopping around. Just see the movement there. He's a bit lower now. Let's try and move around to the other side. See him there, Brian? He's right at the back. Oop, he just dove down into the thickest of the thick. Green Maroptera, or another name for them, or their old name for them is a green-backed bleating warbler. Unfortunately, he decided to make himself a bit scarce. I have some Cape turtle doves feeding over here, as well as, oh, there goes the Cape turtle dove, one of them. And there's another Cape turtle dove feeding on the grass seeds. And then a bit to the right, once we've had a look at him, there's quite a common bird we found on the open plains that we get from time to time, and it is a black-crowned lapwing, or a crowned lapwing. Very, very quiet. The bush is almost silent. And way off in the distance we can see that the Drakensberg, the tops of the Drakensberg, are above this cloud front. It looks like it's sunny beyond, but not so much where we are. Even though the bush is really, really quiet, it's never truly quiet. There's always some small creature making a noise. And I can see some of those small creatures scuttling along, making their way towards us at the moment. Do you spot them, Brian? I'll go off the road a little bit. One of my favorite little critters. And they're not going to like this weather too much either. They are great baskers in the sun, little dwarf mongoose. You can see they're all fluffed up in this cold weather. So you'll probably find that their evening den is very close to here. So they have quite an interesting sort of feeding structure. So, oh, look at the grooming there. I might do it again, all those three. So like with all little social animals, now specifically a social predator, allo grooming is very important. And they have quite an, as I said, interesting little social structure and feeding. There we go. So they have an alpha pair that does all the breeding, and the rest of the individuals are there to take care of the young. Look at that, isn't that spectacular? So like with all social predators. Very, very important that grooming keep the bonds, the social bonds in the group tight. But the most fascinating thing is that when a member of the alpha pair dies, the next ranking individual will fall into that position. But if there's two individuals that are of the similar rank and they want to sort of fight it out for that alpha spot, it is the complete opposite to what you think. So they do not actually physically fight each other, they have a groom off. And that grooming process has been recorded to go on for over 24 hours, and they're literally covered in saliva from each other, and whoever is the most determined groomer will take that alpha spot. So instead of physically fighting, it's obviously a mechanism to stop fighting within the natal group. They will literally have a groom off. They will lick each other and be as nice as possible to each other till the one who is the most determined will take that alpha spot. Oh, look, this thing's got a scorpion on top of the termite mound. It ran away from a bigger one. There's one just disappeared behind the termite mound. Can you see him there, Brian? Yeah, there? I wouldn't scare them too much. Where's he going with that scorpion? You got him? I think it was a scorpion. Looked like a little, one of the little ground scorpions. I didn't actually have a good look, but it just looked like a scorpion in the mouth.
Looks like a solarfuge.
Oh, a solarfuge. Looks a bit too long for a solarfuge. Let's have a look. Lift it up, little guy. And it was just out of shot when it happened. It was quite interesting behavior. So there we go. It's about to happen again. So dominance is very important, and it quite often goes to food stuff. So even if a less dominant individual catches a prey, the dominant one will often take it from it. That's why it immediately scuttled off with that prize, whatever it was, to eat before the more dominant saw it and found it. And now it looks like they have to share. Or it scoffed it down as quickly as possible so the other couldn't get it. So guys, we're going to send you back across to Jamie, and we're going to leave these little dwarf mongies to continue grooming and getting ready for bed, and we're going to continue on to see what else we can find, and we'll be back with you a little later.
So guys, welcome back. And I have some really positive news for all of us who were concerned about Junior and that young sub-adult from the Nkuhuma pride. Now, I've just heard reports that they are on a buffalo kill. Unfortunately, it is across our boundary on Elephant Plains, but really good news for those two. It means that they are looking after each other and have managed to feed themselves. Now, as I was listening to that update, we had a little bit of a surprise. I felt a bit of a tickling and had to turn my hat over to have a look, and lo and behold, I had a surprise visitor within my hat. I'm just going to try and find him again. I didn't want to disturb him too much so that we could show him to you. Where's he vanished to? It's a very large, rather hairy spider. Where's he gone? Just checking. Here he is. I'm just going to tuck him out because obviously he can't live in my hat. Well, he could, I suppose, but I don't feel like finding out if he bites or not. There you can see, tucked away in there. Now, unfortunately, I don't have my spider book on me, so I'm not too sure what it is. try and encourage him into the light a little bit. Shame. I'm going to return him to the wild from whence he came. He can't really live in my hat. Hello. I think he's a little bit reluctant to move. But there you go. For some reason, the name wolf spider keeps popping into my head. At first, I almost thought it might be a baby baboon spider just because of its size. But I think I might be wrong about that. Almost got that size and body shape of a jumping spider. I'm going to have to go home and look up what the spider might be. But if there are any of you out there who might be arachnophiles and happen to know what this particular species might be, I would love to hear from you. And you can send that information through to me on #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@wildearth.tv. Very curious to know what this little guy is. It's the second one I've seen. The other one was sitting on the windowsill at Inge's house, and I regret now not pulling out my spider book straight away. It's quite a solid little thing. It's got quite fierce looking mandibles if I look closely, which is one of the reasons that makes me reluctant to let him live in my hat. As fond as I am of spiders, and I do think they have a very special place out here, I don't particularly feel the need for him to be in my hat. Now, I think if my brother had been involved in this situation, and if he is watching, I know he would be smiling, because I think that the reaction would have been a very different one. He is absolutely terrified of spiders, and I think a big, black, scary-looking one like this might send him into orbit. I can safely say, though, that it's not one of the dangerous, venomous ones. I think it will be one that relies quite a lot on the strong mandibles rather than any kind of toxic venom. Solid little thing. Okay, buddy. Nice to see the creepy crawlies, or the gochas, as we colloquially term them in South Africa. It's coming out and about. Start of spring brings all kinds of things. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to just let him spend the duration of the drive tucked away in the folds of my hat. He's not doing me any harm, and I don't want to stress him out too much. And then I'm going to put my hat down, face down, so he can hide away nice and safely in the dark. And in the meantime, let's go and see what's happening with these Nkuhuma lions. Now, I've just picked up tracks here, and I'm trying to figure out exactly whose tracks they are, because I've got this report that Junior and that lioness are on Elephant Plains, so I want to know who came through this way. Also sounds like the Styx Pride might be out and about on Arathusa as well, so I'm going to see if we can jump into the lineup for them. They are quite in demand. It's the first time that anybody in this region has seen lions for a couple of days, so there's lots of guests trying to get there. But let's head on our way and leave my little spider friend to settle where he is. Now, I mentioned earlier, since we are currently just waiting to see what I can find from these lion tracks. Now, I mentioned a little bit earlier that we definitely went looking for young Mediba this afternoon. This morning. And that both Scott, James and myself, between us, had probably walked most of the southern boundary of Djuma. Now, Jim Butler, you were wondering if I went walking for him this morning in the drainage line, and I did indeed. The other thing that I went to do was stand on a very large termite mound that overlooks most of the drainage line, and I scoured about for him, but unfortunately without any tracks to give me a hint as to where he might be. It's a little bit tricky. I did search through the drainage line. There was no flash of spots, so I don't think he was hiding in there, which I did suspect he was. I thought maybe in this cold, windy weather he might have hidden himself away in there. It doesn't seem to be the case. But yes, Jim, I did go looking. Either grown wings and flown, or he crossed somewhere and I missed his tracks going across south into Hoffman's with Shadow. That's also quite possible. And of course it's worth remembering that the more that young Madiba starts to gain independence, the more we're going to start to see him moving around without his mother more and more in the area. And I'm going to do a U-turn and just see if we can follow these lion tracks, because they look to me to be really, really fresh, which is quite peculiar. I would stop and show you, but the light is very, very tricky today. Without any backlighting from the sun, it's going to be hard to find a nice example. Give it a go. Do you think we could get those, Jandre? Off to the right there. Can we give it a try? Here you can see the lion tracks that I was talking about. Now, I've only picked up on 2 sets, but that looks to me to be quite a big track. You can sort of just see the 4 toes and the imprint of the back pad there. Very, very tricky in this light, so I'm not going to hop out and do too much of a track talk, just because we can't see them all that clearly. Now, I will tell you that they are heading off in this direction, which is the complete opposite direction to where the guide said that Junior and the lioness were sitting on a buff kill. However, these could be a little bit older than I thought. They might be doing lots and lots of circles. We did see those buffalo earlier, so I'm going to follow those. They were in that direction, so I'm going to follow these tracks, see if they head that way. I am a little bit confused as to what is going on, but what could be the explanation, the only explanation I have, is that the 2 of them walked quite a lot up and down to try and hunt those buffalo, or to try and get to a good position to hunt those buffalo. Because the guides have told me that they are on elephant plains right now. As though that he just caught the tail end of that breeding herd, and most of them were mobile east, back towards Djuma and onto Boyatella. I'm just wondering which lions these might be. Now, I have called these tracks in on the radio, and it sounds as though Ryan from Arathusa is also out and about to try and help me follow up on whatever's happening here. They do look really, really fresh, and it has been a windy day, and there's been an entire herd of buffalo that have passed through this area. I'm a little bit confused as to which lions are where. It's interesting that Diane and probably many of the other viewers picked up on those roaring sounds, or the roaring calls on the Arathusa Dam. The tracks are coming up this way. Oh, very, very interesting. Let's head up this way and see what we can see. I also just want to hop onto the Game Drive channel very quickly while I've got some good comms and just let them know that I'm on my way to the sticks as well. Now, I mentioned earlier that we spent our afternoon doing something, and actually what we were doing was we had a really fascinating talk. So James, Scott, Brent and myself, we all went across to the Elephant Plains Lodge, and we had a speech from a lady who works at the Mabula Ground Hornbill Project. Now, for those of you who don't know what a ground hornbill is, it's a very large, the largest member of the hornbill family. It stands probably about close to 1 meter in height, and I'll show you a picture of it in a moment. I'm going to show you a picture in a moment. I just spotted a bull giraffe. I think he's going to disappear. Let's see if he moves out into the gap there. Quite a nice young, maybe not so young, but definitely a bull in his prime. Stop to have a look off at something to his left. Decided it's not too worth fussing about. Off he's disappearing into the block. If you are joining us for the first time, I knew it was a male instantly because you could just see the tops of his ossicones had been rubbed clear of hair. Unfortunately, he's proving to be quite elusive. Now, just to bring us back to the conversation we were having. So the ground hornbill is one of the largest predatory birds that we have out here. And as its name suggests, it spends quite a lot of time foraging on the ground. Now, here is a picture of this really quite beautiful bird. And it can actually reach anything from just under 1 meter to just over 1 meter in height. Very bright, very striking red with a very solid hornbill-shaped beak. And it will feed on anything from insects to small rodents and even snakes. Now, the thing about these wonderfully glorious birds, and they are really truly beautiful, is that there's a lot of different threats to them out here in South Africa, and there's something in the region of only 1,500 of them left in this area, and by this area I mean South Africa. And that equates to something in the region of about 430 breeding pairs. And the reason behind that is because what they do is they're cooperative breeders. So they will form mated pairs with their offspring usually, and it's always the male offspring, helping them out with rearing the next generation. And it takes these incredible birds, and they're very large birds, it takes them somewhere in the region of 8 years to reach sexual maturity. They like to nest in big trees, and they like to reuse the same nesting site year in and year out. And they don't necessarily breed every year. So a lot of parental attention goes into raising each juvenile. And for the young females, as soon as they reach sort of 1 year or 2 old, they are almost immediately kicked out of their family group, and they have to go off sort of on the fringes of the bigger family group's territories and try and find a mating opportunity. Now, the longest one of these birds has ever lived is up to 66 years. That was in captivity. But they do believe that they can live somewhere between the region of 40 to 50 years in the wild. Now, because they are so endangered, there's a lot of projects out there that are looking to hand raise the second chick. Now, typically what they will do is they'll lay 2 eggs. The first egg will hatch, and the second egg will hatch about 10 days, up to 10 days later. So when it does hatch, it's very much more underdeveloped than the first chick and is basically outcompeted until it dies. So the second chick never survives. But what these researchers do is they actually take the second chick and they hand raise it with puppets so that it doesn't learn to imprint on humans, and then they put it with other birds to try and teach it how to behave like a normal ground hornbill, and then they try and release and re-establish populations in the wild. And there's a lot of noise happening above my head, which is what you're hearing at the moment. It's just the magpie shrikes having a bit of a conversation. It's quite sweet. You can see that's probably a mated pair. They're also cooperative breeders, just like ground hornbills. And definitely always wonderful to sit and watch some of the amazing bird life that we see. Anyway, the conclusion to that story is that we will be very carefully monitoring to see if we get any of these breeding families of ground hornbills. They are going to start calling very, very soon, and we're going to try and see if we can identify any of the potential nesting site for the researchers. But that wraps up my ground hornbill sighting, and I've got lions to try and track. And in the meantime, Brent has located that enormous buffalo herd that we had the tail end of. So we're going to cut across to him, and I will catch up with you a little bit later.
So welcome back, everyone. We've just come across that big herd of buffalo you were with earlier with Jamie, and they're crossing from Arathusa back into Nkuhuma. And the one great thing about this time of the year and buffalo is you've got to hope there's a lion pride not too far behind them. They are looking a little bit nervous. It could just be the weather, but I'm going to be the eternal optimist today and hope that there are some big cats on their tail. And great that they've crossed back into Nkuhuma. Hopefully they'll bring the lions with them. I feel like I haven't seen a lion in such a long time. There's a go-away bird alarming behind us where the buffalo have come from. Their general demeanor has been quite nervous. As you can see, they're disappearing off into these spike thorn thickets at the moment. I just want to stand by here a little bit longer to see if there isn't possibly a feline behind them. So I know those lion tracks Jamie was on are heading in the same direction as this breeding herd of buffalo. And I said they do have quite a nervous demeanor. And I do think it's worth just sitting here for a little bit longer. And hopefully those lions will be hot on the tail. The go-away bird. So they have headed into this quite thick stuff there. I reckon the herd's probably 250, 300 strong. From what I saw, there could have been more that crossed before I got here. We were right at the tail when you came to us, but they did show that sort of nervousness. And the wind is gusting, so maybe they've picked up the lines. You can hear them in the distance there. Brr, brr, little arguments between the herd. They're probably going to come out into the open areas around Impala Plains, Balanites, but I just want to sit here for a few more minutes and listen carefully. And we just want to see that lion sort of striding out of the bush behind us. The last couple of buffalo bulls. Wow, I think I just spotted something way in the distance. It is, but it's very far and it's crossed the road already. There was a giraffe that crossed the road, but beyond that vehicle, and you can't really see it. But the one positive thing about where we're sitting here is I do have a really long view to the west, also to the northwest, and a really long view to the southeast. So if there's a lion going to cross, hopefully we'll be able to pick them up in this area. Have another quick look with the binos. So we had a good look at the mountain ranges behind us that are to the west of us, and Taylor on Twitter was wondering what mountain range that is. That is the Drakensberg. It is one of Kayla, sorry, not Taylor, Kayla with a K. This is the Drakensberg. It is one of the longest mountain ranges in Africa, and by far the longest mountain range in South Africa. And translated is from the original Dutch and from the early settlers that came here, or a lot of the early settlers going to new parts of the world assumed there were lots of fierce creatures living in these hinterlands. And if you look at really old maps, there's pictures of dragons and dinosaurs and three-headed beasts and such all there. So when the first sort of settlers came up against this, they called it the Drakensberg, the Dragons Mountains. And no dragons there, I'm afraid, but they are very, very sharp mountains, so there is quite a lot of spikes. So some people say it's because it looks like a dragon's back, especially around the KwaZulu-Natal sort of Midlands going up towards the Lesotho. I think it was more because they thought there were mythological beasts in the hinterland of Africa. Giants, cannibals, savages, and dragons. There were giants, but not the ones you expected. I think the giants were the elephants. And the unicorns were the rhinos. And the dragons, the crocodiles. So it doesn't look like anything's popped out. So we're going to try to catch up with that buffalo herd again. But then the go-away birds alarm again. Let's just have a quick look where they are. Alarming down towards one of our touch rugby fields, the Knobthorn open area. Just trying to see if I can get a view through these terminalias. So, nothing there. They might be alarming at something else. Let's go see if we can catch up with those buffalo. I know Jamie's hot on those lion tracks. I'm going to be the lazy one today. I'm going to stay with what the lions eat and head towards where those buffalo are going, and hopefully the lions will just follow us and we won't have to do any work. The fact that those buffalo are moving quite fast does mean they've possibly been harassed. And I got an update from a friend of mine who works at Sibambili, and he says they were actually chased by the Majingaline male lions all the way from the western sections yesterday, and they didn't manage to catch one. So that could be why they're so harassed. There might not be lions right on their tail just yet, but having a nice big herd of buffalo around is literally, can you imagine the buffalo walking through the bush going brr, brr, brr. All that noise is similar to if you have a small child and an ice cream truck drives past the front of your house making that ding 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 noise, and the children start salivating and running outside. And that's what's having a big herd of buffalo on the property is exactly the same for lions. It's like lion ice cream. wonderful thing about a big herd of buffalo is the fact that they are basically a mobile gardening service. So they're bulk grazers, so they'll munch down all the sort of not so great grass that a lot of the other animals won't eat, as well as fertilizing as they go. Obviously they produce a huge amount of dung as they move through the bush, so they keep the grass nice and short, and they also fertilize it, and as well as providing lion snacks. So they were heading in this general direction, probably right past the repeater that sends our signal out to wherever you might be in the world. Okay, I'm hoping that herd of buffalo are going to pop out around here. I can hear oxpeckers. Let's just stop and listen, see if we can hear them. There we go. Sounds like they're over there, so we're going to continue on down the road a little bit. Just hear that buffalo moving through the bush. As I predicted, I said they would be around the repeater that helps send our signal off, and the repeater is just there, and the buffalo actually seem to be all around the repeater. We could actually almost rename this road Eugene's Road, because when the gremlins come, this is where one of the places Eugene comes to try sort out the gremlins. We're still right on the edge of the herd. Quite a lot off to my left here. Moving towards us. You hear that woo? That is the equivalent of an ice cream truck siren, or what is that speaker? Can you make that noise?
I'm trying to think of the tune.
I don't know the tune. Nice big herd of buffalo. So we're gonna stay with these buffalo, but we're gonna cross back to Jamie now, who's got a really, really fantastic surprise for you.
And look at this, we do indeed have a fantastic surprise for you all. Stop for a moment, let me loop around. Let's try and loop around. We've got what seems to be the Nkuhuma lionesses, which is such a treat. It's so great to see them. At the moment I've only got 3. Stopped for a quick drink. And they're now looking like very much like they're moving mobile to the east. So it could well be that they've been following that buffalo herd. Here we go, one thirsty lady. They are looking hungry. Definitely look like they could use a meal. Now at the moment I've only counted 3 of them. This is very interesting. Now before I say for certain that these are the Nkuhuma lionesses, I will just say that I haven't had a good chance to look at them. I have just been going off the judgment of the other guides. Now, just in case you're wondering where we are, it was indeed their tracks that we were following. They moved north from the Arathusa Dam and they are now mobile east from Knobthorn clearings towards Triple M boundary. And they're not too far from the boundary now. I'll try and stay with them. I'm sure that they are hunting. They've got that very hungry look about them. Sure why we're seeing only 3 of them. Loop around and see if we can get ahead of them. Try and stay with them. There's some very interesting things happening here with the lions. I'm going to just focus on where they're going to come out on Triple M. Thank you, Sean. Awesome, man.
And they're going your side after some buffalo. So it's exciting on to do that.
I think we might do.
Yeah.
Cheers, man. Thank you. Just saying a big thank you to Sean from Arathusa. Now, Sean was the one to respond to my call about the tracks. They are definitely heading somewhere. We're definitely going to be staying with these lions. Brent is with the buffalo now. Sorry, Jean-Andre, we've got to duck under this cluster leaf. There's a very, very thick area up ahead of us, but we are going to stay with them because they do look as though they're on the move. Now they're about to cross over to Triple M. There's lots of interesting things happening here with the lion dynamics because apparently these lions were around 16th crossing earlier today, which means that they would have been definitely very, very close to the two lions that are suspected to be both Junior and the missing young sub-adult from the Nkuhuma group. Now, I want to be very careful of giving too definite an explanation as to what's happening. I just want to get confirmation that these are indeed the Nkuhumas. They do look to me like they are, but there's only 3 of them here, and I don't know where number 4 is. The guides are just talking about it now on the radio. And they've crossed across Triple M directly east of Knobthorne Clearings, where we play our touch rugby games. Try and stay with him. I'm going to try and get ahead of him. It's a very, very thick block up ahead. Hi guys! Which way are they going? Just double checking which way they're crossing. Now, I know this block of old, it is full of holes, but let's get here. The lionesses have just moved up onto a termite mound. They are definitely on their way to those buffalo. Definitely looking hungry. Let's try and stay with it. It is a very, very thick block. Worth doing. Now that lioness is climbing up onto the termite mound to survey the area, to see what's happening. See if she can spot the buffalo herd. Now the buffalo herd are about 300 meters away from us in that direction. Brent is with them now. Now nobody seems to be too sure which lions these are. I suspect it might be the Nkuhumas, but then we are missing a lioness. I do need to get onto the Game Drive channel and just let everybody know what's happening. Yeah, station, these Ngala are now in the block just to the east of where they crossed on Triple M. They're mobile north towards those in Yari. I would come along Lionesses towards Impala Plains. Let's see if we can get through here. We are right in a monkey orange thicket. I'm trying to find us a good way through. We're not going to lose them. Sorry, Sandra, watch out. negative, not yet. It is very thick in here. I've still got visual of the gala though. Copy that, will do. Chandra, can you see the Gari repeats anywhere from where you are? Oh, we're just coordinating Brent and myself to make sure that we don't miss it. We're gonna have to go under here. You ready? This is very, very interesting stuff, guys. They've got a purposeful look about them. I'm going to cut around ahead of them. I just have to make really sure we don't end up in a burrow like we did last time in this block. Just bear with me a moment if I'm a little bit quiet. I want to just make sure we don't lose them. And it is very, very noisy. Just dodging ducky poles. Sort of duck my head down quickly. One of the females has just moved into a tree. Now we've only got 3 young lionesses here, and Paul Rizzo has suggested that maybe they might be a bit small to take down a buffalo, and definitely maybe a full-grown buffalo, but the 3 of them would be more than capable of targeting one of the smaller ones, or possibly even one of the weaker ones at the back of the herd. She's down off the tree now. They keep moving to high vantage points, and I'm sure that's partly to help them get an idea of exactly where those buffalo are. Let's try and keep up with them. Brent for Jamie. I have visual of the Gari repeaters to my right. Those Ngoma are still slowly mobile north. Say about 150 meters. Copy that, thank you. Yeah, these Ngala are sort of mobile northeast through this block. Look how cool that is. You can see how she's not quite sure of herself on that tree. Feeling a little bit unstable. Time to hop down and follow on. So are we. We're going to find our way through here somehow. Try and loop around this way and avoid some of the aardvark holes that I've seen. Just watching her behavior very, very carefully. Obviously I don't want to compromise them in any way. job at the back there, ducking and diving the various branches that are coming his way. Let's just watch this lioness for a moment. Let's see what she's up to. Now, the reason that Brent was telling me to look for the repeater, and that's one of our towers, is that the buffalo are just close to it, the sort of back end of the herd. She's definitely on alert. Now I'm just looking to see where the other females have gone. I think they've looped around. Let's just stay nice and quiet. I don't want to compromise her in any way, so we need to just sit for the moment. I can see one of the other females, but she's quite far away. They are definitely on alert. Not fully stalking just yet. It could be that they are trying to follow up on the buffalo herd and look for that weak spot that we were talking about. Go on their way. Now, what I would really like to do before they go into serious stalk mode, because I'm just watching all of their body language, and I'm going to try and loop around them to get ahead of them and between them and the buffalo. Obviously without in any way compromising what they're going to set out to do. Stuck there. Let's try this way. Still a stump there. Haven't gone into full hunt mode yet. Now, Marilyn, and I'm sure some of the other viewers might be a little bit concerned about the impact that it will have on what's happening here, and I'm being very, very careful to make sure that we don't in any way compromise what they're doing. So they are after the buffalo, but that's why I made sure that I knew where they were from Brent. Going to duck around one of these other vehicles. Now I promise you, if any indication that we are having any kind of impact, we will immediately stop and stand by. We're making sure to do it in a way that isn't going to compromise them. We need to stop here because we are in an absolute minefield of aardvark burrows, and they're walking between them. There you can see we've still got one of the lionesses, but I have to go around. There's no way directly through here, as one of the other vehicles just discovered as well. Let's just stay here for the moment and see. I've still got visual of two of them. identity of these lions seems to be escaping most people, myself included. So please guys, take lots and lots of screenshots when we get a good view. And this doesn't quite qualify, but she is going to come through. And when we get a good view, particularly of those whisker spot patterns. There we go, you can hear the buffalo off to my right. But if we do get a good screenshot, then we can go and compare them to any of the other lions that we do see in this area. And Paul Rizzo has even put forward the theory that it might be a different group of lions, which would explain why they are moving through without worrying about the Birmingham boys. And it is, of course, a possibility. This is an open system, so lions can come from anywhere they wish to. But the lions here are quite well kept track of by all of the guides in the various lodges in the various areas. And it does make me wonder. A thought that occurred to me was it could have been part of the Styx breakaway pride, but I'm honestly not too sure. She doesn't seem to be feeling too well, eating a little bit of grass to settle her stomach. Very often, just like your domestic cats or dogs might do, when they're not feeling too great, they munch on some grass. Now, if you are a new viewer, just a reminder that this is a live safari, so this is happening right here in real time, which explains a little bit of our confusion as to who they might be. Now, our first thought was the Nkuhuma pride. Just having a look at her body language. Now they're heading off a little bit away from the buffalo, and that could well be due to their size, as mentioned before, that they are making sure that they sneak up and around the buffalo herd without taking on one of the other ones. I do need to reposition before we lose them, and we need to go around this minefield of aardvark burrows. Our movements away from where the ground collapses. That only takes that happening once on a drive for you to learn from those kinds of mistakes. Let's drive through the simple bush. Good there? Let's just loop around. Now I mentioned that it could be the Nkuhuma pride for those of you who might be joining us for the first time. And that was originally when I started working for WildEarth in July. That was a pride of 8 lions strong, and apparently 9 lions in February before I started here. Just going to loop around here. But over the last few months, they've been very seriously compromised by an influx of 5 young male lions who've come through. They killed their first one, I think, probably at the beginning of August sometime. Okay. Here we stop. Now look at her body language. Just have a look at the way that she's looking. She's looking looking directly in the direction of that buffalo herd. They're probably tucked away in the bushes. I just got a glimpse of them. They are probably, the closest one is about 100 meters away from where she is. And she's spotted them. She definitely knows they're there. I think she's going to make her way to that termite mound that's off to the right. And I think she's going to go up there and have a look. Now I just want to get, before this hunt gets underway, I'm going to get onto a road so that we don't cause too much crashing damage and noise. Stop here for the moment. Although we don't have the most fantastic view of her now, she is going to move into our view, and we've got quite a nice open patch here. Now, once this hunt does get underway, I'm going to be quite restricted about how I can move so that I don't in any way compromise them. So we're going to stop here and we're just going to watch what she does. She's moving directly into the wind. Now, I know that Brent is around here somewhere. I'm not sure if he can see me or not. I just want to get hold of him on the Game Drive channel. Let's just see what she does. Brent for Jamie. Do you have my visual? Copy that, thank you. Now Brent has moved away from where the buffalo are. And we're just going to have a look at what Brent is seeing. So we're going to go across to him, but I'm still going to be with you. I'm going to be talking to you as we do. So here's Brent and what he's looking at, and I'm going to keep describing what this lioness is doing.
That's like
You can see just by her body language, she's definitely thinking about going into hunt mode. She's glancing behind her. The other two females had actually stopped a little bit further back and are hiding behind a termite mound just out of our sight. And she's definitely taking the lead here. She's just lying down against the edge of the termite mound. Now I think that's just to give herself a little bit of assessment time in terms of figuring out what's happening with these lions. Now, there are the buffalo. Just going to try and get you a visual. There you go. That's the edge of the buffalo herd. Now for these three lionesses, hunting's a little bit more tricky because they are smaller, they don't have a male with them, and they need to be quite careful. They cannot risk injuring themselves for the sake of obtaining some food. Very, very patient, which is what this lioness is doing. She's just taking the opportunity to scope out what's happening. And while she is lying down, I'm going to take this opportunity just to reposition. I'm actually going to reverse down the road so that we can get a view of both the lioness and the buffalo. This buff herd is all around us, but I do need to be able to see her face in order to determine which ones she might think of going for. hear buffalo crashing around all around me. So all the way from where that other vehicle was, all the way around down to here. So we're right on the tail end of the herd, but it is a very, very big herd. You'll know from Brent's sighting, when he had them crossing the road, that there's lots around here. Loop around in here, see if we can get a nice position. Let's just stop here for a moment just to show you all of the buffalo shapes hidden in this block. So they are all here. There's lots of them there. You can even hear them calling. This lioness is now probably, she's let them move a little bit ahead of her. She's probably about 150 meters away on the termite mound. I'm going to reposition so that we do have a good view of her, but that we've also got a nice route to drive if she does start to chase, if there is a hunt that started. Let's just loop around and see what these guys do. She's standing. She's not facing the buffalo. I think she's actually looking to see where the other females have gone. The sounds of the buffalo, as well as have quite a nice view of this lioness. And please guys, take lots of screenshots and send them through to us, and you can send them through on #SafariLive on Twitter, or you can email through to questions@wildearth.tv. And I know that Lynn and lots of other viewers are wondering where we are. We crossed over Triple M from Arathusa, where these lionesses were, and we moved across onto Djuma. So we are on Djuma at the moment. We're very, very close to Balanites Road. In fact, the closest point to us is probably one of our repeaters that helps us with our broadcast signal. Whoever she is, she's a very beautiful lioness. You can see she's got a nice vantage point from the top of that termite mound. I'm not too sure where the other two lions are, but I can see another vehicle about 50 meters behind her. So that's probably where her two sisters are. But she's definitely the female who's taken the lead so far. Now, patience is a virtue. Now, just because she's lying down doesn't mean she isn't thinking about hunting. I think that's exactly what she's thinking about doing. She just has to make sure that she picks out the weakest link of that buffalo herd. And buffalo can be incredibly aggressive in their defense of other herd members, as well as in defense of their own lives. And an attack on buffalo means facing a lot of horns and a lot of kicking hooves. And it's not unheard of for the tables to be turned and to lions to find themselves suddenly attacked from buffalo. Just going to grab my binoculars and have a look at her face. To me, she looks like a young lioness. And Janet, you've picked up on the fact that she doesn't have all that many scars. No, she's actually not that young. She's got quite a lot of dark on her nose, which is what I'm looking at because I can't see her canines. So her teeth would be the best way of aging her, but her nose is also quite a good way. Now, Janet, it could well be that they simply haven't had any major injuries. Although I agree with you, that's why I at first thought it was quite a young lioness, just because she does seem so intact. It also makes me think twice about it being a member of the Nkuhuma pride, just because all of them have been in so many different clashes with the Birmingham boys that we've heard about. So those young male lions that I would expect to see. Oh, hello. Sudden surprise. It suddenly popped up over the side of the termite mound. There's also another lioness, the other lioness, poking her head around the side. Isn't that beautiful? She's coming up to join. We're going to see the typical ritual head rub greeting between lionesses. Oh, or not. That was interesting. Obviously very intently focused on what is happening out there. Okay guys, get your screenshots ready to go and let's all figure out who these lions are. I wish I had my camera on me, I don't. But look at those three very alert faces looking off at the buffalo herd. You can see flashing off in the distance, just seeing what's happening. Please, as soon as you have taken those screenshots, please send them through. I'm desperate to know who these lionesses are. The two on the left, or at least the one on the left and the one at the back, are exhibiting much more relaxed body posture than the one on the right. I'm not sure if that's just because she's lying in a way that's making her look uncomfortable. She does have slightly different. I'm just going to get my binoculars out again and let's have a proper look at these lions. Tax has just come through. I'm going to get him on the radio in a moment and ask him if he knows who they might be. Hello, how are you? Oh, big yawn. Yeah, there's three. Do you know who they are? So you think it's Nkuhuma's? It is Nkuhuma's. Here we go. She's up now. Sorry guys, I was just talking to Tax, who thinks it might be the Nkuhuma's. Apparently there was a fourth lioness with them earlier today that has gone missing. Hello, big girl. Now, I'm not sure if that was the way that the light caught her eyes, but she did seem to have very, very amber eyes. I'm just stopping for a moment because she's walked right behind me. So I'm going to try and keep an eye on where she's going, as well as on the other two. Now, if it is the Nkuhumas, we will be able to tell fairly quickly, because I'm sure a lot of you have screenshots of them, and I know a lot of the presenters have lots of photographs of them. So we'll be able to have a look and compare whisker spot patterns. Now, Tex seems to think that it is the Nkuhumas. He seems certain of it. Which makes us wonder now, if it is Junior on Elephant Plains, which is what I was told, with that young sub-adult female, then it could be that the fourth female has moved across to join them there. But why the other three haven't, I'm not too sure. I think there's going to be lots of conversations tonight about what's happening here with this pride. Chandra, can you still see the other female? I'm just trying to look around behind me. Now we're going to have to stay with these two. She has moved off behind my position of my vehicle, and I think just to scope things out. But she's definitely not going to be taking on one buffalo on her own. So we'll stick with these two for now and just have a look at what they're up to. Now this is the perfect opportunity for photos, and I'm going to ask Jandre to just take a few so that we can supplement the wonderful screenshot through. We can use them to work out who these guys are. It may have been a trick of the light, but when that one lioness did walk past us, she looked like she had much more amber eyes than the other lions I've seen. It might have just been a trick of the light. It is getting a little bit dark. Now, many of you are picking up on the fact that that lioness's eyes were yellow, so not our amber-eyed lioness. These two seem fairly peaceful. Big yawn. Now, yawning usually precedes exactly that, which is getting up and moving. Obviously, I can't turn the car on when she's right next to us, so we'll just wait for her to pass. Hello, big girl. Who are you? Now, at this point, because two of the three have moved off, I'm just going to wait for the vehicle movement to stop, and then we're going to reposition. Make sure I keep a good eye on where she's going. To stay with the moving lionesses now. This one will follow soon. about having these wonderful short wheelbase Land Rovers is that we do get a little bit more maneuverability. Somebody is trying to call me. I just want to respond. Standing by. No problem. Sean found the wire and things up. Lioness is up to. Now the buffalo herd have actually moved quite far from these lions. And this is where things get a little bit tricky. Listen to what's happening, just like she is. I can still hear the buffalo moving ahead of me, as I'm sure she can. She's settled down for the moment. I'm going to stick with her for now. I saw a flash of the other lioness move in this direction. Not sure where she's gone, the lead lioness, but we'll stick with this one and see what they're up to. You will notice that the light has started to fade, and Paul on Twitter, you were wondering if these lionesses might be waiting for after dark before they go after a buffalo, and I think that is a very, very strong possibility. I think that is exactly what they're doing. I just need to use my ears for a moment to hear where that other female is. So as nocturnal predators, they have the absolute advantage once it does get dark, and especially on a night like tonight. It is a perfect hunting night. It's completely overcast. Once the sun sets, there won't be any or very much ambient light at all, and this is where the lions really come into their own. So they've got night vision that even on a night like tonight, they will be able to see as clearly as we can. And that could be exactly what they're doing, especially because they are down to 3 at the moment. It would work to their advantage. This is a young lioness that we're looking at, to me. She's got quite a lot of pink still on her nose. And although I can't see them, I can still hear the buffalo all around me. So they are around, and the sun is going to set probably in the next 5 or so minutes. And because of all of this cloud around us, it's going to get dark very, very quickly. Now, apparently the sun actually has already set. It's set at 5:47, which was 2 minutes ago. We still have some ambient light around us, as you can see, but it's going to get dark very, very quickly. And then we're going to start to see a lot of action from these lions. I'm sure that they're going to be on the hunt tonight. I just want to hop onto the Game Drive channel and let them know where we are. Oh, never mind. Got somebody who's already updated them. Oh, big yawn. Now, as I mentioned before, very often yawning like that is not necessarily a sign of tiredness. It can be an indication that the lions are about to get up and move. This one female's already come through. That was the female who was lying on the termite mound that we left. So these two are definitely taking a back seat when it comes to this buffalo hunt. And that makes absolute sense, because you don't want more than one lion making more noise than necessary on basically what is a reconnaissance mission. So she's going to go and look and see if she can find a weak link to that buffalo herd. And the minute something happens or she spots something, we will see a change in the behavior of these lionesses. Now, what she could well do, they are almost directly downwind of where the buffalo herd is. And what she could do is try and sneak up to them and even chase one of them towards these two. And it's phenomenal to think how they manage to communicate with each other, quite often through visual cues that we don't even pick up on from their side. Now, this lioness is just hopping up. I just want to see where she's going and what she's up to. Her body language just changed a little bit. She's looking very intently in the direction of the buffalo. But the other lioness hasn't moved. And I think she's just trying to ascertain where her sister is and what she's doing. Now, Brent is on the edge of the buffalo herd, and we're just going to... No, hold on, let's just see what this female does. Let's just wait a moment before we do anything. Her posture's changed quite significantly. You can see how on alert she is. Now, if she does start to hunt, we will have to stay switched off. We can't follow until they've actually managed to catch something. Otherwise, we do run a serious risk of disturbing their hunt. So let's just sit quietly for the moment. She's gone into alert mode. The other lioness is still lying down, quite relaxed. Okay, so she's relaxed her body posture just a bit, and I know that Brent is on the edge of the buffalo herd. So we're going to cut across to him briefly just to see what he's been up to, and then we're going to be back with the lions very quickly. But never fear, if something does change, we'll be back with these lions immediately.
Welcome back, guys. Isn't this really exciting? Nkuhuma's back and on the trail of this big herd of buffalo. So while Jamie sits with the lions, I'm trying to stay at the nose of the buffalo herd and keep with the buffalo. So if those lions charge, we'll have one vehicle in the right place to hopefully be there with the lions. So the majority of the herd is moving across. We're near the back end of the herd, so I'm going to move again quite shortly. The lions are probably 100 to 200 meters to the south of me, and we're just standing by here, and I'm going to keep my ear to the ground to see if those lions do start moving, and then we'll pop straight across to Jamie. But in the meantime, we're going to sit here, and hopefully the Nkuhumas are on their way to a successful buffalo hunt. So that was just an argument between two buffalo. Now they're giving each other funny looks, and it looked like two cows didn't have a good idea where each other were. And quite often you find some of the cows are blind and they just hooked each other, and one got a fright and they ran. And in these big herds you have that herd mentality, and you might find the lions might have taken the opportunity while there's a bit of confusion to move closer. So we're pretty much right at the tail. There's probably about 150 buffaloes here, and then there's probably about 250 here. There's probably about 300 in total, and well, the lions are probably waiting for it to get a bit darker and get that nocturnal advantage, and especially with a dark, cloudy sky like we've got tonight, it's excellent buffalo hunting weather for lions. So guys, we're going to cross back to Jamie. We're going to stand by right here. The lions are on the move. Standing.
So welcome back, and indeed the lions are on the move. I just have to dodge the stump that we are on. See if we can get around it. Lioness starts to stalk. I'm going to stop our pursuit, especially because it is very, very noisy. Yeah. She's just ahead of me. Let's just stop here, see what she does. Let's just stop for a moment. I know that it is very dark, but I do not want to in any way compromise what she is doing. Okay, she's not stalking just yet. She is moving very purposefully through. Stay with her. Let's keep up with where she's heading. Sorry, Jando, you're gonna have to duck again. Stop here for the moment. There's the one lioness. The other one is coming up behind her. Alright guys, we're going to have to very soon, as soon as they start to stalk, we are going to have to drop our lights, and we're not going to be able to follow behind them. Now, Auntie Lynn, you were wondering if the buffalo are aware of the presence of the lions. And the answer is I don't think so. They've approached precisely downwind, which is what they are continuing to do, is just follow behind the buffalo herd at quite a safe distance, and of course completely silently. So the buffalo, as far as I can tell, haven't seen them or smelt them. And Auntie Lynn, there's actually a good chance that if the buffalo were aware of them, they might even come and investigate closer where the lions were. Stopping here, and I'm just turning my lights off. I just want to stop and have a listen and make sure that we're not going to compromise anything. I can hear the buffalo moving ahead of me. I can see all 3 lionesses at the moment. I'm going to just pop my side lights on for the moment, just so we can see the one moving through. They've also just heard some impala, so we're just going to sit here for the moment. I cannot put my lights on them at the moment. The impala are very, very close to them, and they're distracted. They're actually arguing with each other. We do just have to sit here and see what happens. The lionesses are looking like they're going to start stalking. Craig is also just standing by on that side. Just listening very carefully. One of the other vehicles has been asked to just stop exactly where he is. Now, it is just one of those things about a lion hunt, is that if it does happen, we are going to hear it very, very clearly. Okay, a lion hunt or a lion kill is not very quiet, including when they kill the animal and then once they start to feed. But we do just have to sit quietly for now. There's 3 vehicles around them. All of us have switched off and turned our lights off. And that is just because we do not want to interrupt them in any kind of way. So for now, we just have to concentrate on what we're hearing and just try and work out exactly what's going on. The impala to me sounded like they were just over there and probably less than 50 meters away. They were making those sort of general grunting sounds that they make when they start to fight a little bit. And that was not in any way an alarm call to the lion presence. And the buffalo have just moved off. They're actually everywhere. I can hear them all around me. But I think the closest one is probably about 100 meters away. Now, I just want to get onto the radio to Craig and ask, oh, excuse me, if they've crossed the road yet. He's just there on Zoe's road. Craig for Jamie. Now, do you still have visual of those mufuzzies? Okay, copy that. Do you think I can make my approach, or am I going to disturb them? Copy that, thank you. So I'm just asking Craig, who's a little bit closer to where they have stopped. Negative just the 3 when I started this afternoon. Now I just wanted to ask Craig what the best approach would be without disturbing him in any way. And he suggested that we turn around and go around him, which is what we're going to do. Careful about where we drive in this block. Move around some aardvark holes. Just going to creep up nice and slowly, just to make sure we don't disturb anything. Just to let you know, the only reason that I actually started moving through was because I double checked with Craig, who could see them, and they were all lying down. I just want to hop on the radio. Copy that, thanks. I will stand by here for now, just so that we don't disturb anything. And we just moved through because I had word that the lionesses were lying down on a termite mound. So they were settled, they weren't stalking, and they weren't hunting, which is why I took the opportunity to move. But they've just called me now, which is exactly why I've stopped, to say that they look like they're going to start to stalk. So we're going to sit here, and we're going to be very, very quiet, and we're just going to watch and see what happens. We definitely can't move any closer, and we definitely can't put any lights on. Let's just sit and listen to what's happening out in the darkness. You'll be able to hear the buffalo as well. Let's just look out into the darkness and see what we can see. Hear the buffalo calling. There you hear that sort of mooing sound that we can hear. And the lions are just in the block to the other side of this road, which I didn't want to follow too closely behind. So for those of you who were a little bit concerned if we were moving through that block, it is thick and loud, but I did make sure I kept a nice big distance between the lions, or between me and the lions, and I only moved when they were settled down. And when they started to get close to the buffalo, which they are now, we're going to just stop and sit here for the moment and listen. Now, essentially, the approach that they are going to adopt is the one will try and sneak around and chase one of the weaker members of the herd towards the other two. Now, for 3 lions of that size, it is probably going to have to be one of the younger, smaller buffalo, or possibly even one of the sick-looking ones, one of the ones that's looking a little bit thin, a little bit under the weather. Sorry guys, just being called on the radio. Yeah, Craig, sorry, go again with that message. Okay, copy that. I will do. I just don't want to disturb anything, so just let me know if it's okay to approach. Craig's just letting me know that the lionesses have settled down again. And they are not in the process of stalking just yet. They've stopped again, showing a remarkable degree of patience. So I'm going to sneak forward. Let's creep forward. Stop here. Apparently it is, or the lionesses are just on the termite mound in front of me. Now obviously I can't turn my lights on to have a look, but they are probably, that termite mound is probably, I'd say about 40 meters in front of us, and they've just stopped and they're lying down there just like they were earlier when they were moving through after the buffalo. It could well be that we spend quite a good deal of time with them, because they are so few in number, and there are already 3 of them. So let's just stop for a moment and look out into the dark and see what we can hear. There's a lot of crickets as well. So I'm just going to be very, very quiet. Let's see what we can hear. I'm sure you could hear how the wind is gusting around us, and it's blowing straight this way into my face, which is exactly the way that the lions have been following the buffalo whilst remaining undetected. So you can hear all of the buffalo moving off into the block to my left, and the wind is just masking the lions' approach. And they couldn't really ask for better hunting conditions than they have right now at this point. There's very, very little light. They can see perfectly. The buffalo can't really see that well, and the wind is absolutely perfect for them. And with a huge herd, like a buffalo herd like this, it can be quite easy to just pick one off from the back without the rest of the herd noticing. You can hear all of the crashing and the breaking of branches, and many of our regular viewers will have heard how much noise a buffalo herd makes when they're moving through an area. And it's going to work well to the advantage of these, if they are the Nkuhuma lionesses, for these Nkuhumas. Now, I've only had the briefest view of this buffalo herd, But Chanel Ma has noticed that there are a lot of calves within this breeding herd. Now, I only picked up on one or two, but I was only really looking at the back end of it, and they were quite far away from where we were at the time. So I'm going to take your word for it. It does sound like it was a very, very big herd, and there should be, in a substantial herd of 500 or so, there should be at least 50 or so calves for these lions to be able to take on and hunt. And for these three, I'm not sure how many of you were watching the sunrise safari, but we did stop and pick up a young buffalo skull that was killed by the Nkuhumas just a couple of weeks ago, and we had a look at the size. Now, just personally, my opinion, I think that's probably the biggest calf that they're going to be able to take on, just the three of them, sort of an 8 to 9 month old calf. But then they're going to have to keep a close eye on the mother as well and the rest of the herd. And that, I just want to be quiet for one moment. I think I heard something. There seem to be impala alarm calls. I just want to... It's quite difficult over the sound of the wind as well as the buffalo moving through. But I think I heard an impala bark. It could be that one of the lionesses has tried to loop around and has been spotted. It's all gone quiet again though. If it was the lion that was picked up on, you would definitely hear more frantic, close alarm calls. So it's not the lion. Whatever they're shouting at, it's not the lion. Now, of course, it's really, really difficult to tell in these dark situations because I can't see exactly where everything is, and I have to kind of go off the sounds that I'm hearing as well as what I've been told by one of the other guides who's a little bit closer to where the lions were. Now, Heather, you were wondering, as I'm sure many of the other viewers were, whether or not the lions have decreased the distance between them and the buffalo, and they absolutely have. As soon as it started to get dark, they started to push just that little bit closer and that little bit closer. And I'm sure that what they're waiting for is complete blackness, just to be able to see off into the distance and to see what's happening there. I'm still listening very, very carefully to see if we hear any kind of alarm calls or anything like that. One of the other vehicles is just pulling out of the sighting. I'm sure that they're here somewhere. Sorry, Brent's just calling me on the radio. Standing by. Just confirm, are you to the east of me? Okay, copy. Are you still quite far? I'd say probably about 200 meters or more. They were just on the side of the road when I last saw them. So Brent is in the block. He's just off to the left of me. Okay, yours is just telling me that they've moved off into the block, which means that we can switch on our lights for a moment and just get a scan of what's happening. I just want to let Brent know that. Brent, did you copy that about those Ngala moving off? I think a little bit to the south of where you are. I'm just going to switch on my side lights now so as you can see where I am. It's gone very, very still and very quiet. Let's do a bit of a scan. I just want to communicate with Brent as well. Okay, copy that. I can still hear a lot of the herd members quite close to me, probably within 50 meters. Apparently the Zingala headed almost straight east from my position. Just going to move forward slightly, and then we're going to have to stop and listen. We can't go crashing after them in the block in the dark when we don't know exactly where they are or what they're doing. So we're going to have to rely entirely on our senses and differentiate between the typical buffalo noises that we might hear, the sort of mooing and grunting that you all will have become familiar with whenever they bump into each other and get into each other's personal space, and then the proper sound of distressed buffalo. So there will be lots of running through trees, and they do run through trees. They don't run around trees when it's a herd of panicked buffalo. And then we're also listening for any kind of distress calls or distress moos. But we definitely can't go thundering through the block after these lions. Not at this point, not at this distance from the buffalo and from the lions. Just having a look at where the other vehicle is, not too far from us. Also just listening to where everybody is positioned so that we know who's going to be able to hear what and when in this block. It's all gone absolutely dead quiet. Just the occasional moo of the buffalo, completely unsuspecting in that block. There's no way that they know that the lions are there, or we would know about it. Now, let's just see what Brent is up to. So he's probably about 200 meters into the block away from me, but he's also right in the middle of the buffalo herd in the direction that the lions were heading. So let's go across to him, see what he's up to, and I will be back with you a little bit later as soon as there's any kind of action over here.
Welcome back, everyone. Can you feel the tension in this dark and stormy night? So the lions are somewhere quite close to me now. They've left where Jamie is. I'm sitting on the edge. I've got buffalo less than 10 meters away from me, and we're just sort of waiting for that pandemonium to break out. When a buffalo herd runs from a pride of lions, it almost sounds like the earth is breaking. It is a shattering noise and incredible. So we're very lucky that we've got two vehicles in this position, and I've been able to just keep on the periphery of this buffalo herd and try to guess where the lions might charge through, while Jamie's been following the lions from the back. Obviously now, as it's got dark, we've had to stop moving. We don't want to affect in the lions' favor or in the buffalo's favor. We are observers here. We're not here to change the outcome of the situation. So this is a really, really good chance that the Nkuhumas, or three of the Nkuhumas, might be able to make a buffalo kill this evening. They might not make it in the next hour. I've seen lions follow buffalo herds
all night. The fact that some of the buffalo are bedding down near us is a good sign. You can still hear the herd all around us. I'm going to keep quiet in a minute or two and let you listen to it. But fingers crossed, we're in the right spot. Jamie's in the right spot, and hopefully we do manage to catch a little bit of action this evening.
Sorry guys,
Don't worry, they've taken over the Game Drive channel for me. So guys, just to let you know, we're so confident that something might happen, that we're going to extend drive this evening, and hopefully something happens in the next little while. So I'm going to keep quiet, and I'm going to get Brian to switch off the light to give you an idea of how pitch black it is here.
so literally you cannot see your hand in front of your face. And obviously this suits the lions down to a T. They've got incredible nighttime eyesight, and it does make a benefit for the lions. You can hear the buffalo all around us. You can just see my monitor there. And we can pop the light back on. There we go.
I'm back. See, I didn't even move. And Brian kept the camera around me, and you couldn't see me. You literally cannot see your hand in front of your face. Just another buffalo having a little argument, probably a little horn in the armpit. Oh. And if the lions go, we're going to hear a very different noise to that. I've been very fortunate in my time in the bush that I've spent a lot of time with lions hunting buffalo, and most of the hunts actually take happen during the night. And so I've spent a lot of time sitting in the dark listening to the buffalo lion interaction. So basically once that stampede goes and you hear that, that's when all our lights will come on. Whatever happens after that is beyond us interfering, so we will be standing by. And a lot of you might think it's quite dangerous. I'm sitting below the buffalo herd with the lions above. It's not.
So I'm just going to try to fiddle with this.
The buffalo will literally part around me, so they're not going to run over the vehicle, so don't worry about Brian and myself. We're completely safe here. I've done this a few times before. Very exciting. So unfortunately we're still having a little breakup on comms. I think it was Louise on Twitter.
It says
She's surprised the buffalo are making so much noise. Well, when there's 350 of you, it's really difficult not to make a noise. So there's lots of little arguments, and they bump each other, and there's a calf suckling, or a calf might get separated from a mother. We heard that earlier, and that distress. Burr, burr. I mean, it's literally like an invitation to the lions, and it is very, very difficult for them not to make a noise. They are big animals, and there are a lot of them.
just going to pop my spotlight on up in the air, and you can see just ahead of me there on the edge of the light we're completely surrounded by buffalo. So you can see their eyes there, lots of buffalo around there. You see there's another one there. So we're not going to put the lights on them for too long, just showing you
we're in the right spot, and hopefully the lions aren't feeling too lazy and we'll make a play shortly. Forgive me turning around. I'm just listening, and I'm just keeping my ears going. as you can see, it's so pitch black. Zoot from New England says we should have night vision goggles for the presenters and night vision cameras or lenses for the cameramen, so the viewers at home can watch. And hopefully one day that might happen, but till then, we're just going to have to play the patience game. So I'm just turning around every now and then. At the moment, my ears aren't facing away when I look at the camera from where the buffalo and the lions possibly are. So forgive me not looking at you guys. I do have to sort of keep an eye on, or an ear on, what's going on behind us. It's amazing, sometimes in these situations you can actually hear the lions go before the buffalo realize, and it's a much softer. And then, and literally sounds like an earthquake. 350 stampeding beasts, each weighing around 1,000 pounds. Or the adults, at least. Another quick. You can see there's a buffalo right there. They're still grazing, taking advantage of the nice succulent new shoots. As I said, we don't put the light on for very long. We just have a look. I don't normally actually need to do that, but just so you guys can see how close the buffalo are to us, I can hear them. I mean, you can hear that. I'm going to ask Final Control to pump the volume up so you guys can actually listen to this. So I'm sure you guys can hear these buffalo all around us. Isn't it amazing? The wind's picking up. Maybe that's the catalyst we've been waiting for these lions to make a move. There's impala alarm calling towards quarantine. I don't think it's from the lions. Scott is standing by on quarantine. I'm just going to see if he knows what could be there. Scott. Scott, confirm you're getting those impala alarm calls around the western edge of quarantine. Buffalo actually seem to be moving closer to us. We've got such an array of noises that you wouldn't think would come out of a cow. Okay, copy. One little sudden gust of wind might betray the lions, and we might get a stampede. Sorry, Jamie, go again. Scott was standing by in quarantine, so I think he's going to go have a quick look.
that enough light to make out that buffalo here? No. We're about to get engulfed. I'm just going to flick my side lights on for a second. You can see there on the edge. And we are literally being surrounded by buffalo at the moment. Copy, thanks, Scott. So Judith says she can also hear these buffalo feeding around us. And we've got to wonder, with only 3 lionesses, are they going to attempt, or will they maybe go around and try for something smaller? It is a bit of an ask for 3 lionesses to take down an adult buffalo. Not impossible by all means, and especially not at this time of the year. So very interesting to see what happens, what unfolds here. Even if nothing happens, it tells a story in itself. Don't know if you guys could hear that. It's a hyena calling as well. Maybe because there's only 3 of them, they might attempt rather a calf than an adult, but the adult might defend that calf very aggressively. I know a lot of you have heard me say many times, the most important things when you're in the bush and when you're following predators on the hunt is patience. His movement, it could have been from the wind. Then maybe, it sounds like they might have smelt. Maybe the wind changed a gust and these buffalo are moving ahead of me now. I'm just gonna pop my... But they're still not too stressed. Maybe just a slight whiff of lion on the air. And we've got an update about the rest of the pride. So we've got 3 lionesses here. Apparently, the junior was found on a buffalo carcass on Sibambili with one of the missing sub-adults that we presumed might be dead. And as well, they're on the move again. As well as later, an adult lioness arrived. So very interesting, and hopefully they will join up tomorrow on the sunrise safari. They seem to be moving with a little bit more purpose now. I think they maybe got a whiff of lion. You can see them through there. Sorry guys, just give me a second. There we go. Listen to that, it's like an earthquake. We're just gonna sit tight and listen. Hey, firm yours. I'm not sure if they chased or they smelt, but I think they have missed. But I'm just going to stand by for another minute or two before I move. See, just got a slight rumble. 350 hooves, but it wasn't what I was expecting. Not blind. Now, the wind's swirling. Listen to that. There's going to be a lot of confusion. Dark. Windy. The wind's gusting. They maybe got a whiff of line. They're not sure. They're not stampeding off, but they're definitely not sure about what's going on. They're not comfortable at all. I mean, I don't know if you can see this, but if I hold my spotlight up, I'm suddenly being encased in dust from all these buffalo moving. You can see all this dust. We've still got all the buffalo, and they're taking up defensive position, and there's a lot of bulls opposite us here, big old boys, and they're now facing us. Wouldn't be surprised if we start. Sorry, Brian. And if we have a look here, look at this dust swirling. So there's lots and lots of. They're on the move again. They're running back this way now. We're just trying to figure out what's going on. We can't actually move now. There we go. Listen to that. Yes, and now we're getting covered in flies as well from these buffalo. There we go. That's it. Yours, if you can, head towards that 2-track that runs to the western side of quarantine. Hold on, guys, I think the lines are actually turned and chased by the buffalo. Just hang on. I'm going to try and get there as soon as possible. Just saw what I thought was a glimpse of a lion run past here, and it looks like the buffalo formed a laager. They've now turned around and run straight back towards me. I can't see any Ngala yet. So, lions rely on a lot of confusion on these dark and windy nights, and buffalo get separated, a calf might get separated, and it's really difficult for us to work out what's going on. Because you hear that distress, but it could be a buffalo just being run over by another buffalo. It could be a lion on the back of one. And we're on a really thick bunch of bush. Sorry guys, I'm just listening to try to figure out what's going on. Buffalo stampeding all around us. Look at that dust in the air. There's Nario now heading back south. They're the lions. Okay, we're on them. I knew I saw a ghost of a lioness just a little few seconds ago. Hold on. We're going to be in the middle of this pandemonium now. I got it. So unsuccessful. I thought I saw the buffalo turn around and chase the lions. But this is by no means over. There, the buffalo right behind her. Then, okay, lights off. She's going to stalk again. So what happens is they're relying on this pandemonium, and maybe, I'm not sure where the other lionesses are. The buffalo are 30 meters away. She's just over there. Oh, she's on the move. Unfortunately, this is not the easiest area to operate in. Jamie, come. There she goes. I've just seen a glimpse of her in my side lights. Buffalo running that way. Watch my light. She's just run through here. Jamie, I've got the lions. They just had a go. They're busy chasing the buffalo again. I've got two lionesses who have just run past me. Negative. I'll put my spotlight in the air for you. Lions are in that direction there, so towards, I'm a bit discombobulated at the moment, towards the sort of southwest. There we go. There's a lion on top of a buffalo. Hang on, guys. Oh, she's come off. But there we go. You see how there's a lioness in front of us testing. There was another lioness off to the side, and they're going to do this constantly. So the buffalo are well aware. That's why my lights are on. They know where the lions are. It's just for that initial sort of charge that we don't keep our lights on at night, because she's testing the buffalo. There she comes. She's testing the buffalo. There's probably one of the other lionesses close by. I saw two now, and they're looking for weakness. They're looking for a young calf or a sickly adult to take down. So the reason our lights are still on, because this is quite a different scenario from when we're normally following hunting. So for that initial charge, we will keep our lights off. Now the buffalo are very much aware of exactly where the lions are, and the lions are just going to keep walking into them. You probably find, oh, she's going to lie down. The lions will get chased as much as they chase, and they're just going to keep testing this herd till they can find a weakness. Especially with three lionesses, they're not going to be as brave as they were when they were a bigger pride. They're going to take less risk. So for them, it'd be ideal to try get a nice young calf or an old female who's not in very good condition. And the buffalo know if they run too far and they turn their backs too much, it's also not very good for them. There she is. You can hear the buffalo up ahead of us, and we could see she was no more than 30 meters from those buffalo just now. There the buffalo are. There she is. And there's probably another lioness, judging from where the buffalo are running, that's pushing them from the other side. There we go. We've got all three lionesses with us now. So the buffalo are there, the lions there. See what I mean? The buffalo can see the lions can see the buffalo. They're just constantly pushing, looking for a weakness. Jamie. Oh, I seem to have lost my comms with everyone. Well, let's stay with the lions for now. We can worry about comms issues later. So there's lionesses. I've lost sight of them now for a second. There they are. Isn't this incredibly exciting, folks? So we've got another vehicle there. So we're both positioning ourselves in the best spot to see what's going on. I've got a lioness off in the distance and buffalo just behind it. So they're continuing to push, and that's why we're keeping our lights on this situation. Both animals are completely aware of where the other is, and that's why we are able to. Oh, there we go, and she's chasing again. The buffalo have changed direction again. I've still got it. Okay, let's go. Hold on everyone, off we go again. We've got the lions right in front of us. The buffalo are no less than 15-20 meters away. And there we go. They're just pushing these buffalo, pushing them, looking for that weakness. And quite often the buffalo will turn around and chase them. Which is about to happen. Yeah, she's running from a buffalo. So it's very much a testing game. See the lions running from the buffalo now? Unfortunately, I seem to have lost all comms. I'm not sure what I've done. I've probably done something in my excitement, but everything seems to be on. Okay, let's get back with them. There, the buffalo chasing the lions now. And now the lions have turned the table and walking back towards the buffalo. There's the buffalo. About to chase the lions. We're going to stay on the buffalo chasing the lion. There's the lion. Watch out, Brian. Isn't this amazing? See now, there's a lioness who's managed to get. So we've got one lioness there. I've seen another one just there, and I think the other is just on the other side of this big tree in front of us. Now watch these buffalo. They're probably going to run at this lioness again. Oh, there's a little drainage line. I just saw her back behind. So guys, I'm afraid we might have to listen to a bit of the radio. I've lost comms, so I'm going to have to take the game drive radio off. And stations, can you copy me now? Game drive radio off. And stations, can you copy me now? I think there was an Ngala here that just gone around to the other side of these buffaloes, so I think they might chase them back towards us. think I've just got a visual.
One from our right.
Stand by. I think I've still got a visual of a single ladder. There we go. She's just behind this bush, using it. And then if you follow my light to the right, she's probably 10 meters away. But you see those are the big buffalo bulls on the edge that are forming a protective layer around the herd. So I'm going to head back, Brian, to see if I can see the line. There she is. There she is. You can see not displaying classic stalking techniques. The wind. Then maybe, sounds like they might have smelt. Maybe the wind changed a gust and these buffalo are moving ahead of me now. I'm just gonna pop my... But they're still not too stressed. Maybe just a slight whiff of lion on the air. And we've got an update about the rest of the pride. So we've got 3 lionesses here. Apparently the junior was found on a buffalo carcass on Sibambili with one of the missing sub-adults that we presumed might be dead. And as well, see on the move again, as well as later an adult lioness arrived. So very interesting, and hopefully they will join up tomorrow on the sunrise safari. Now they seem to be moving with a little bit more purpose now. I think they maybe got a whiff of lion. You can see them through there. Sorry guys, just give me a second. There we go. Listen to that, it's like an earthquake. We're just gonna sit tight and listen. Hey Fermios, I'm not sure if they chased or they smelt, but I think they have missed. But I'm just going to stand by for another minute or two before I move. See, just got a slight rumble. 350 hooves. But it wasn't what I was expecting. Not live. Now, the wind's swirling. Listen to that. There's going to be a lot of confusion. Dark. Windy. The wind's gusting. They maybe got a whiff of lion. They're not sure. They're not stampeding off. But they're definitely not sure about what's going on. They're not comfortable at all. I mean, I don't know if you can see this. But if I hold my spotlight up, I'm suddenly being encased in dust from all these buffalo moving. You can see all this dust. We've still got all the buffalo, and they're taking up defensive position. And there's a lot of bulls opposite us here, big old boys, and they're now facing us. Wouldn't be surprised if we start. Sorry, Brian. if we have a look here, look at this dust swirling. So there's lots and lots of, they're on the move again. They're running back this way now. We're just trying to figure out what's going on. We can't actually move now. There we go. Listen to that. Yes, and now we're getting covered in flies as well from these buffalo. There we go. That's it. Yours, if you can, head towards that 2-track that runs to the western side of quarantine. Hold on guys, I think the lines are actually turned and chased by the buffalo. Just hang on, I'm going to try and get there as soon as possible. Just saw what I thought was a glimpse of a lion run past here, and it looks like the buffalo formed a lager. Yours, they've now turned around and run straight back towards me. I can't see any Ngalo yet. So, lions rely on a lot of confusion on these dark and windy nights, and buffalo get separated, a calf might get separated, and it's really difficult for us to work out what's going on. Because you hear that distress, but it could be a buffalo just being run over by another buffalo. It could be a lion on the back of one. And we're on a really thick bunch of bush. Sorry guys, I'm just listening to try to figure out what's going on. Buffalo stampeding all around us. Look at that dust in the air. There's Nario now heading back south. There, the lions. Okay, we're on them. I knew I saw a ghost of a lioness just a little few seconds ago. Hold on. We're going to be in the middle of this pandemonium now. So unsuccessful. I thought I saw the buffalo turn around and chase the lions, but this is by no means over. There, the buffalo right behind her. Then, okay, lights off. She's going to stalk again. So what happens is they're relying on this pandemonium, and maybe, I'm not sure where the other lionesses are. The buffalo are 30 meters away. She's just over there. Oh, she's on the move. Unfortunately, this is not the easiest area to operate in. Jamie coming. There she goes. I've just seen a glimpse of her in my side lights. buffalo running that way. Watch my light. She's just run through here. Jamie, I've got the lions. They just had a go. They're busy chasing the buffalo again. I've got 2 lionesses have just run past me. Negative, I'll put my spotlight in the air for you. Firm, lines are in that direction there, so towards, I'm a bit discombobulated at the moment, towards the sort of southwest. There we go. The wind. Then maybe, sounds like they might have smelt. Maybe the wind changed a gust and these buffalo are moving ahead of me now. I'm just gonna pop my... But they're still not too stressed. Maybe just a slight whiff of lion on the air. And we've got an update about the rest of the pride. So we've got 3 lionesses here. Apparently the junior was found on a buffalo carcass on Sibambili with one of the missing sub-adults that we presumed might be dead. And as well, see, they're on the move again. As well as later, an adult lioness arrived. So very interesting, and hopefully they will join up tomorrow on the sunrise safari. They seem to be moving with a little bit more purpose now. I think they maybe got a whiff of lion. You can see.
Welcome back, guys, and we do apologize for those technical issues. Now, I know that you saw a couple of failed attempts with Brent, and since then the action calmed down a little bit. The lions are still trying to follow the buffalo, but they are quite a lot further away now. Stop here for a moment. There's one of the females coming through this side. I just want to get an idea, but you won't believe what else has happened. So remember how at the start of the sunset safari we were looking for young Madiba, and yours, who was one of the landowners who was in the sighting with us, actually found him in the big Balanites tree probably about 100 meters south of where we are with these lions. Now obviously, because we don't want to copy that. We've got the lioness here just beyond the termite mound. Okay, so Brent is on the other side. And the buffalo do know now that the lions are here. Obviously, there's been 1 or 2 failed hunting attempts. So they are aware that they are here. The lioness are just choosing their best route of approach. They've got their jobs cut out for them as 3 lionesses. They're just basically just scouting behind the herd and trying to pick up on any weakness that there might be. But it's not over yet. The buffalo are a little bit dazed and confused at the moment. They know that the lions are here, but they're not quite sure which way they should be going. Sounds to me like the buffalo are coming towards the lions. It does look that way. They're actually going to, I think they're going to wall together and try and chase her away again. Yes, she's up. She's moving away from them. They've formed a defensive wall and they're pushing in her direction. And she's not going to stick around to find out what happens. There she goes. She's moving across to where her sister is. There you go. Head rub. And they both stop to look at those buffalo. And the buffalo are still advancing. They're fighting back and coming towards the lions. They're going to try and scare them off. I'm not sure where the 3rd lioness is. I don't see her at the moment. They're lying down again. So the lionesses know that they could definitely outrun the buffalo. Negative, she's come to move straight in front of me. There we go, and the buffalo have got a fright. I think that they were advancing to where they thought the lions were, but the minute she moved forward, they panicked and ran backwards, but they haven't gone too far. There's a to and fro here between these 2 arch enemies of the bush. First the buffalo chase them away, and then the lions push forward, always looking for access to one of those calves or any one of the weaker animals. I really don't know where that 3rd lioness is. I'm not too sure if she tried to sneak around or if she's somewhere a little bit further towards where the other lionesses are. They're lying down now, so I'm actually going to move. Oh, they're heading towards the buffalo again. Let me just let Brent know. They are following on towards the buffalo now. Here for a moment just to get an idea of what's happening. There you can see she's lying down again. clear movement off to my left. I'm just going to spotlight in that direction. Here we go, there's the other lioness. Just making her way along. They're both up now. Now, I'm pretty sure that Brent is going to have a better view very soon. They are heading straight towards him. Now Brent's got a better visual right now as we speak, so let's cross across to him and see what they're doing.
Isn't this absolutely incredible? We're still with these lions. They're still pushing the buffalo herd. As I said, I've seen them do this for up to 4 or 5 hours before. And as we can see, there's a lioness there. The buffalo are just beyond them, and they keep on pushing. I can see 2 lionesses at the moment, and they're just looking for weakness. All of a sudden, in that last little patch while you were with Jamie, when we were next to the buffalo, you started to see a few calves appearing on the peripheries. So this is what they're looking for. They're looking for that one little moment of weakness. As you can see, they're not really expending too much energy until they're going to spot that little half gap, that little moment, and they will go on for a full charge. They're just going to keep walking behind these buffalo, lying down, resting. We can see the buffalo eyes staring back at these lions. We've got the 2 lionesses next to us, and they're just walking. They'll push the buffalo a little bit, wait to see what happens, push a little bit more, and they're just waiting for one of these older females in the herd, or possibly one of the youngsters. There is a possibility we might get to a stalemate at some point, where the lions might have expended a little bit too much energy and are going to need to rest, and that'll give the buffalo a bit of respite. The buffalo are not necessarily at night going to move too far from here. They probably only move 200-300 meters. The lions might rest up for an hour or 2 and then be back hot on their tail. I was chatting to my friend Tristan, who works to the west of us, earlier today, when I bumped into him when we were watching the buffalo cross. And he said these buffalo have had a really tough couple of days. The Majingalan male lions have chased them all the way from the western areas, and they are now being chased by the Nkuhumas now that they've arrived here. And fortunately, as you can imagine, it's not like following wild dogs hunting, which is fast. When lions hunt buffalo like this, it does make it a lot easier for us to keep up with them, because they just walk and push that periphery of the buffalo herd, walk and push again, and walk and push again. And so far, they've been quite kind in the areas they've been going through. Of course, as I say that, they're probably going to make our lives a little bit more difficult. So we've got to go through these little
monkey oranges, which do make a lot of noise on the microphone, so I do apologize for that, but it is worthwhile to keep up with the lions. Lionesses are joining us here. Little greeting. They've probably spent quite a bit of time away from each other while they've been trying to attack these buffalo, splitting up, trying to. They definitely haven't given up yet. They still have that march of purpose. The only thing that I'm a bit worried about is that these buffalo run off out of our traverse area, and that's a possibility in the direction they're heading at the moment. I'm hoping we're going to pop out onto Impala Plains. Oh, I can see the buffalo up ahead again. Where it's a bit more open, we could see quite some interesting behavior play out there. Once they come out into the open and the buffalo realize it's only 3 lionesses, there's a strong possibility that they might turn around and chase the lions. I mean, isn't this incredible? We are on a live lion hunt out here in the African bush, and I know it is quite difficult sometimes to see what happens at the end of the hunt, but this is nature at its most raw, at its most brutal, and at its most pure. Sorry, go again, Scott. So, great update from Scott, who's looped around with only the WildEarth tracking vehicle and the 2 WildEarth live vehicles that are out at the moment. So we're really lucky, really thrilled. So Scott's gone around to the other side, and those buffalo apparently are on Impala Plains already. So I'm right next to the lions. They're walking parallel to me. I am going to try get ahead of them to see what happens as they come out onto that big open area. With the buffalo, they're right on the edge of the open area. The lions are just to the left of us. Those girls gone? They were right next to me. They popped in behind us, Brian. Oh, they're still coming. Okay, we are now in a really good spot because we've got this nice bit of open ground in front of us. And the lions are about to come out of this thicket. Let's just make sure they haven't snuck behind us. Jamie, confirm, are those animals still mobile? Okay, don't worry, I've got them. There we go. I can just see her laying down in the grass there. There's one lioness. There we go again.
So, welcome back, guys. Now, it's quite a chaotic moment here, so I'm not too sure where the other two lionesses are. I can see the lights of Brent's vehicles just to the front of me, so I'm sure they're just over there. Now, the buffalo are probably about 70 or so meters away from where I am now. And we've got this one lioness, and it's been absolutely incredible to watch how they've been working. It really, really has. Just the way that they've been working together as a team and searching around for some kind of weakness. I'm not sure, I think Brent was trying to get hold of me. No, sorry. But just made sure that we've been coordinating how we approach this whole effort to make sure we don't make any kind of impact on their hunt, so that we get to keep track of them as we move. Now, I'm just listening to Brent's update as well as to where the other two lionesses are. This has been the most incredible evening. How amazing is this to get and to sit and watch how these animals coordinate their hunts on a night like tonight when there's so little light. And we've been very, very careful not to disrupt them. You can see this female, although she is lying down, she's still on the alert. There she goes. She's up and moving. She's got something planned. Now, which way is she going to go? And what kind of visual cue or audio cue is she responding to? How does she know when the others want her to move? It's incredible to see this instinct at work. Lying down again. Now I can't really describe it, but there is a palpable sense of tension in the air. And it's probably from a combination of what we know is happening, but also you can pick up on the feelings around you. You can see the tension in the lion's body language. They're really, really hungry and very determined. I'll say for almost absolute certain that they will eat tonight. It's the perfect hunting conditions. So even though the buffalo do know that they're here, they don't necessarily always know, because of this gusting wind, exactly where they are. Everything's gone completely still again. It seems like the buffalo have settled down. They were a bit restless earlier, but they've all seemed to have gone quiet. Could well be that they've decided that the lions have gone, or that they're not too sure that they are still a threat, so they might be lying down. I doubt it though. I think they're probably standing somewhere off in the dark, listening very, very intently to what is happening. And it's quite an eerie thought. And I did have my vehicle switched off earlier, and Chandra and I were sitting here in the dark, all of our lights off, just listening to the sounds of the buffalo and the complete absence of sound from the lions. And you could just imagine what it must be like to have been our ancestors before we had anything like the lights that we have now, moving through the bush at night, and how absolutely essential that discovery of fire must have been. Just to give you an idea, if I were to turn off all of the lights, which I'm not going to do because I don't want to miss anything at this point, but if I was to turn off all of the lights, you would not be able to see anything at all. There's no moon, there's no stars. It is completely black. How eerie is that? I'm just going to be quiet so you can hear the sound of the hyena that's joined our little hunting party. And right on cue, the hyena stopped calling. He was contact calling off to the left of us. Now, Scott did mention, because Scott is out as well, just to help us in keeping track of what's happening here, he did mention that he saw two hyenas moving very, very quickly over quarantine in our direction. And of course, they are the ultimate opportunists. They know exactly where to head in terms of searching for action. And there you can see Brent off in the distance. He is currently with the buffalo. I'm not too sure. I don't see any lions in his silhouette. Might well be looking for where they are. Now, the thing about this particular buffalo hunt, as exciting as it has been, is that we have absolutely no way of knowing when these three lionesses are actually going to make their move and get hold of the buffalo. And I think perhaps it might be time to start thinking about leaving them. They could kill in the next 10 minutes, but they also could kill in the next 6 hours. We just have absolutely no way of knowing. But either way, what an incredibly exciting evening it has been to spend this time and learn so much about how these animals hunt and how they coordinate, and to just imagine what it must be like to be a buffalo in the middle of this group, pursued by 3 lions off in the dark somewhere. And as we sit and enjoy the silence of the African evening, I'm going to say a big thank you to all of you for sticking with us, for those of you who are still around. It has been a very exciting afternoon, and a massive thank you to Jean-Dre for putting up with all of the branches, smacking him in the face. And I'll bid you all a wonderful evening. We'll head across to Brent, and I will catch you all tomorrow for the sunrise safari.
Welcome back, everyone. It seems like everything's just calmed down a little bit at the moment. So after that high octane last hour, we've just toned it down a notch, and I find that quite hard to bring my excitement down. We've managed to extend for over an hour following these lions hunt buffalo. It's been incredible. We've seen buffalo chase lions, we've seen lions chase buffalo, and I know quite a lot of you out there are quite happy we probably didn't see a kill. So we've seen the best of both worlds tonight. Thanks very much for joining us on this sunset safari. And someone mentioned, after we've had quite a quiet morning and a quiet beginning of the drive, that it was Catterday, and Catterday it turned out to be, with the 3 Nkuhumas chasing buffalo all around Djuma. At the moment, stalemate. The lions are sleeping off slightly to the east of us. The buffalo are starting to bed down behind me here. I by no means think this is over for the evening. I think the lions will probably try again multiple times if they don't catch something, but that's probably going to happen in an hour or two. So unfortunately, as much as we'd love to stay live with them the whole night, we do have to get the vehicles back on charge and the cameraman fed. But from Brian and myself here on the Wendy, thank you very much for joining us. We really enjoyed having your questions, and what a fantastic way to end off Saturday Sunset Safari. So from all of us here, including the thumb, have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we will definitely be following up on this story on the Sunrise Safari to see what happened.